It is what, 9 o'clock in the morning here. We have great sunny day, and it is for me quite a pleasure to be in my third boost program, and probably, I don't know, in my 100th strategy tools meeting, training, etc. So it's always a learning experience. And I've been privileged to really see since early on. And I recall that Chris was sending me some drafts, I believe by the end of 2018, of his sketches of the first simulation. And I think it was Christmas Eve or something like that. He got the first printed set, and he had that spread out across his I don't know, his kitchen or whatever. And I really thought at the time that probably he was creating one of the big game changers approaches in terms of how to teach strategy, how to get away of the large PowerPoints, and really have people experience what the learnings and the key concepts from the frameworks are. So today we're going to talk a little bit, and we have three of our SIEMs expert about how to build the expertise, how to build your sales pipeline in 23. What are some of the learnings that we can take out from this experience? That it has been quite interesting, and actually, I don't know, Jolene, Enrico, if you can share the link to the story post by Chris with the top 10 SIEMs of 2022. That will be a great reading. So I'll be your host. I had also doing some SIEMs on my side. I work on Scale Up, I work on Transform. I've been doing some Supercluster in Spanish, in English. And as I was saying, if you want to learn a little bit more about the different types of simulations and what is the value, what was the problem that we were trying to solve, and then what is the solution, and what is the outcome of different simulation sessions, please make sure that you take a look at this post. So our guest speakers today are going to be from Norway, from Mexico, from Poland, very experienced consultants. And I'll start with Ole. Ole has more than 20 years of experience as a CEO and consultant, changing, transforming, developing, and scaling up small and medium-sized companies in Scandinavia. He is recognized for conducting successful business turnarounds, improving efficiency, and asserting companies' competitive market position. He has great experience in several industries and has done a lot of work with B2B organization, and is, if you don't know, a theater actor and comedian. So everything that I said, plus being an actor, so quite a unique character and an expert within our community. Then we have Javier Sevilla from Mexico. He is definitely one of the most active partners in our network. He is the founder and CEO of Novartic, and he helps organizations, very interesting, compete in the present, but also prepare and compete for the future, to be ready to transform the organization. So he worked on the strategy side, the innovation side, the business transformation. He has been very active also in the entrepreneurial ecosystem in Mexico. He actually became a venture partner for Latin America for Tech Investor Club. And he teaches along with Rick in Northeastern University, San Francisco, and one of the most experienced facilitators that we have. Additionally, Javier also works in the cluster space, and I recommend that you guys take a look at the report that Javier developed named the Chief Strategy Officer in Mexico. And finally, we will have Greg. Greg is an independent strategy consultant with the main focus on formulating business strategy. He worked with business leaders, business owners, startup founders, more than 20 years of experience in Poland, Netherlands, in international headquarters. And now he leads a boutique consultancy firm, Leading Consulting. And Greg probably, last time in the last boost, just disrupted the whole presentations with a great journey of his. I think it was also with Transform. So Greg, big expectations on what you're going to show us today. So with that, I'll turn it up to Oleg. I'll stop sharing my screen, and if you want, you can share yours. And we cannot hear you.
No, that's I'm still an amateur there with the mute session. When I'm at the theater, there's a sound engineer who takes my sound and fix it. So that's the different thing. But I guess you see my screen now, and you see the right part of it. Perfect. I hope so. Yeah, I'm in the senior master trainers from 2020, which when I met Roberto for the first time, and I still owe you a beer, Roberto. Do you remember? So you have to come to Stavanger soon, so I can give you back that beer. But after that training, I really got my first, and a lot of my business after that, I'm an independent consulting, is actually based on the Strategy Tools framework. And one company which I work with the Transform project, I'm still working with them. This spring, I will work with some of the spin-offs from that Transform, where we will change the business model from selling products and services to as a service business model, which will be part where I will lead the project. So the Strategy Tools, what you call it, frameworks and everything has been a very great part of my my business. But that's not the case today, or that's not on the agenda today. We are here to talk about one of the simulations I participated in together with Enrico and Scott Newton as well. This was for the BE, Norwegian Business School, the second largest business school in Europe, 20,000 students more or less. The biggest one in Norway, and the education is focused on real business with close bonds to the business world, and they are investing heavily in research. The program is an executive program for leadership and self-development. And it's both process and knowledge-based, aiming at unleashing potential in people through action and reflection. And the simulation is actually used to provoke, and that's the context of the simulation as well. Of course, it's a way to run a business and compete against the other teams, but it's also used to reflect on and look into what you have experienced both individually and in the team of your peers. And so our purpose here is to put the participants under stress, and they reflect over their reactions and how they worked as team during this. It's full 2-day physical session with very high speed. Last year during COVID, we run it, 3 days, 3.5 days digitally, which was also quite good, but it's much better to run it physically. And of course, to stress them even more, it's to have homework between day 1 and 2, and then debriefs and reflections with faculty after we have left the building. Also some debriefs with us. 70+ students, 3 tables, 3 facilitators, myself, Enrico, and Scott, and Kristen was kind of the coordinator and the offsite facilitator. So he was watching everything, making sure that we made progress in a more or less the same pace. He whipped me a little bit. You have to pace up, Ole. You have to increase the pace there. But and we had then 3 observers from faculty, professors, associate professors, who were observing each table and looking into how the students reacted. Learnings, preparation is key. Here you see Enrico, myself, and Scott looking into the cards, sorting the cards, make sure that we don't give them the hard ones at the beginning, and make sure that they don't get these golden cards, which will make them prosper quite soon in the beginning. Kind of plan the session with that, and also we discussed that between ourselves. And we need to secure a soft start and continuously increase the stress level. And there we also have the opportunity to find, so have some bad or good cards in reserve. If somebody is moving ahead, we can stop them a little bit by putting in a disaster or a difficult situation, and so on and so forth. So it's all about preparation. It's all about tempo and keeping the time to create the necessary tension and energy among the participants. And here you see Scott with his watch keeping time. And we also have these, and we have to make sure that we have time for short lessons. We need to put this into context of real life and with the context with the theory, and also make some time to reflect, although the major reflection is made by the faculty. But we need to secure that we have the required learning. At the end, we had a debrief session, which you see the picture from right, and we got some feedback from the participants. Fun, challenging, eye-opener, action-oriented. Somebody felt it like a roller coaster, overwhelmed, magical, confusing. The words that came most often from the feedback, I think almost 40%, is the 2 words there: challenging and fun, engaging. So those were the key words from the participants, which we were really happy to hear, that it was a challenge and that it was fun, and also that it was realistic. More important is the feedback from the faculty. One quote is, "It was an exciting and valuable journey with tension, speed, and energy." That was feedback the faculty got from the students, I guess. Highlights and capstones the major content in this executive program. The students get so much learning just out of 2 days. And this is the design of the program, which Kristen has done to make sure that the program and the way we run it is fitting to the students' journey within the study, which is an important part to make sure that the program or the simulation is adapted to the real life of the company or the students, or connected to it, so we can see the relevance. That's also one of the major issues in the project I've run, and where I have used then the simulator as a tool to open eyes or to open new insights, is that you need to pause a little bit and discuss the relevance for us and our context. Challenging and difficult, but an excellent way to learn and reflect over individual behavior and the team dynamics. What happened really there? Why did you overrule the financial director in this situation? How are you acting as a CEO in this situation? How do you mobilize the team? How do you utilize the knowledge, the common knowledge of the team, and so on and so forth? And they also said it was amazing to observe how people understood new, complex, and rather unfamiliar topics. True experiential learning was one of the feedbacks. A lot of the participants here were really out of the comfort zone, coming from HR area or from public companies or public institutions and so on and so forth. So that was really a good way for them to get out of the comfort zone. And of course, thanks to the faculty that felt that the moderators were experienced and steady, and linked simulation to practical business life and relevant theory. And this will be an important part of the program in the future as well. I'm not sure if the contract is written yet, Chris, but the point is that they are very satisfied with how this puts the right mood into the students at the end of the program, and as a very good tool for reflection. So that was my short presentation. I think I used a little bit more than 6 minutes. So that will keep some space for questions, or you want to?
Yeah, and Ole, I think that I have two for you at this point. I like the kind of words that you use in terms of you talk about preparation, you talked about provoking, generating reflection, you talked a lot about the tempo. So these are words that you can also relate to a play, to how you prepare as an actor, and understanding how important is the facilitation and the role of the facilitator. What kind of skills do you think that you have been able to take advantage of your experience as an actor that can really create that moments of tensions, but at the same time the moments where you go more into the teaching? What can you share with us that we are not actors? Well, some probably are but they don't say that can be applied in this context.
I think that if I connect it to acting, it's a matter of being there and be active listener. Although I speak a lot, it's a matter of intuition and being there. And one word you didn't mention, which is very important in timing, and especially in comedy, is timing. You need to be prepared. You need to know where you're going, but you can't have all the everything in the script. You need to be able to listen to the group, or to be present in the moment, and then understand what's happening, and then intervene or make progress, or whatever happens. So to improvise as well is also an issue from theater, which you need to have the end in mind, but you need to be able to be creative within those frames.
And Ole, final question for now. During this specific simulation, what were the aha moments? Were those moments when you think that you were really able to provoke the participants and really get that key insight that is probably unexpected?
Yeah, it's when people start to complain. This is not realistic. This is not the way it is in real life, and so on and so forth. Then all of a sudden we have a break and discuss, and all of a sudden they say, well, and this is real life, but you might not know it from your perspective. That's one of the moments, and also when the temperature rises and the discussion starts to be a little bit emotional. That's also an issue where you need to kind of that you are provoked enough.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. So thank you, Ole. We'll come back, as I said, later with some other questions. Javier, the stage is yours. So
Great, thank you. So let me share my screen. Okay, are you able to see my presentation?
Yeah.
Yep, okay, great. So I'm really happy to be here in Boost again, and this time I'm sharing with you a story on one of the simulations that we just ran last month. And this was with a global company, a public company that was, and the simulation was focused on the financial services industry, okay? So this is going to be extremely short, and this was the main challenge, okay? So how can we help the participants to understand better the transformation journey that their customers were undertaking, okay? But the reason why they wanted to, that these participants went through this was because they wanted to create more empathy for the C-level clients that they had, okay? And I would say that this was the first time that I was being part of a simulation where the main objective was not to help the participants to reflect on what its own company was doing to transform or to react to disruption, but to actually help these top executives to understand what are the challenges that their customers were facing, okay? Because they wanted that these executives that took part of this session to have better conversations with their customer and not just like trying to push and show the features that their products and services had, okay? So they wanted to understand how we can help our customers to face their challenges and how our portfolio of products and services can help them to overcome those challenges, okay? So that was one of the things that were extremely different from the previous simulations or the other ones that are focused on the education part of in general on education, okay? So welcome Transform, and we had participants, 25 participants, executives from this global public company, and they were spread all over the world, okay? So we had a 3-day simulation session, and each session was a 3-hour session, was completely remote. And these are some of the key learnings, okay? So the first one is understanding the needs of the client, okay? In this case, the person that was in charge of organizing this program where this simulation took part was really able to understand what the customer wanted, okay? And he was able to understand how the simulation could be part of this bigger program that they were running, okay? So if you are able to really understand the needs of the client, it's going to be easier to see whether a simulation could be part of not of your solution, okay? So the other part, it's an important learning is organizing the agenda. And here, based on the needs of your client, the simulation is so flexible that you can decide what are the key concepts that you want to cover, okay? And how these different content, it's going to help the client to actually reach or satisfy the needs that they are trying to achieve, okay? And the third one, I would say that if you are able to bring a team lead, so somebody that is helping the different teams that take part of the simulation, it makes a huge difference, okay? And it's not that this team lead, it's helping or taking the decisions for the team, but just being there and just helping them to understand probably a specific concept or some doubts that they have. This creates a completely different experience. So if you have the chance to do that, okay, you should really, really consider this, okay? Also, I really like this simulation because there was some specific content specifically developed for this simulation. Again, we have so much flexibility in with the simulations that you can just suddenly develop new material, okay? So the simulation is all about creating stories, creating content that makes sense for your client, for the participants. And seeing this really made a lot of sense for the participants. So it could be as easy as just developing some digital cards, or just bringing stories or examples that are related to that industry or to the participants, okay? And the aha moment, I would say, is seeing how the participants are able to apply the different concepts that they learn through the simulation, okay? So during the simulation, obviously the participants have to present or have to show how they would face some of the challenges that we throw through them. So for me, this is one of the great parts of the simulation, that the participants learn by doing, and sometimes they don't even realize that they are learning, okay? But they do. The feedback, again, and this was thanks to Glenn, I would say. I must attribute this to him. And in general, it was really encouraging, okay? So you always hear phrases like engaging, amazing experience, fun, etc. Okay, but just being able to reflect on this, it's always great. At the end of the day, this is what you want to hear. Okay, what do participants think about all of this? Some recommendations. I think that one should be, if you are able to do it, you should customize it for your audience. Okay, this is extremely important. I mean, the simulation is the playing field. Okay, but if you are able to bring stories, examples that make sense for the audience, this is going to create a completely different feeling. Then also think about the team that you need to run the session. So you can run a simulation by yourself, okay, but you don't have to see limited resources as a barrier, okay? So we have a huge network of experienced facilitators. So if the project needs additional people, you can bring people from the network, okay? And that again creates a different, really better experience. And always very, okay? And I would say that you should be flexible on how you do it, okay? Usually, we like to do this part using Microboard, but suddenly on this specific session, the participants just took over and began doing the brief spontaneously by themselves, okay? So they began just sharing the experiences that they went through, why this made a lot of sense for them, what was the value that this brought, how they were able to connect with people that was in other regions of the world, and all that stuff. So be flexible with this on how you do it, but always do this part, okay? I would say this is the most important part of the session, okay? And that's it. So I'm sure that you might have a couple of questions. I'll be happy to be here.
Indeed, Javier, that was very interesting, especially because the focus of the simulation was different, as you were explaining. In this case, the real job to be done is to help the organization better understand how their customers are dealing with transformation, and then how can they tailor their solutions, the way they engage towards that. Pex, go ahead. I have a couple questions to Javier, but let's hear from you first.
Thank you, Roberto. Javier, you were mentioning that there's some contents that can be tailor-made. In this case, for the financial services, did you use some kind of specific adequation, if you can use the word, for the financial services world? Because I understand from reading, by the way, it's very good reading material, the top 10 article that just came out like last week. I was reading and I contacted Chris regarding a specific version for oil and gas industry or for the energy industry. So I'm interested in that, how customizable it is and who does that work and how that works.
Okay, well, in this case, all the work was done by Chris and Adelina and Jolene. So they designed these new cards or these new challenges, and also by some of the team leads when they decided how they wanted to share some of the examples of when they had to, for instance, cover what is innovation or how companies are trying to develop or incorporate a CVC or stuff like that. Okay, but again, I mean, if you're running the session in a digital world, it's extremely easy because you basically just need to add additional cards and you just add it to the simulation and that's it. If you are running this in person, well, you could probably create some not as fancy as the formal simulation cards, but you could come up with some additional cards that you just print and you just hand to the other participants. Okay, again, you can ask the strategy tools team to do that depending on the type of the project that you are running, or you could just do it by yourself. Okay, so and you just go and check what are some of the news in the last couple of weeks, and you just use them as inspiration, and you come up with this new I don't know, challenges, dilemmas, or exercises. Okay, that's the way you do it.
Chris, any comments on your side on the question?
I love how Javier makes it sound so easy. You just created a couple of new cards. So we have a 2-month process to create customized simulation. But there's a difference between creating a couple of new cards that a client would recognize and feel excited about versus basically shaping it around a specific client industry. In this case, financial services. And I think that in total, we developed 250 new cards with quite a few weeks of research and reading that goes into kind of getting the content right. And the most interesting thing is they have to be connected into the other elements. So there's quite a bit of work to kind of get them to fit. But it worked. It's possible. The client loved it, and I think we're going to see many more customization in next year and well, this year and next year.
Thank you, Chris. Ole.
Just a comment. I'm not sure if I was allowed to do it, but one client wanted to have more sustainability into the simulation, and then I made some cards. That was digital one that kind of made sustainability options, and that you were rewarded for that, and that was a big learning point as well. That the value of the company was increased with when you had the sustainability business card and so on. I think you have developed some now already, Chris. I think we had that in the session
There is. So the question is if you want to develop cards that need to be integrated, or if you simply create an exercise like a strategic dilemma. And you could say, and I've done that, I think, twice, where we say, okay, guys, you have half an hour, go and create your ESG strategy, come back with an ESG reporting guideline, reporting scorecard, assess your strategy versus your ESG, and figure out how to improve it. And it's like, whoa, that's a lot of stuff. So you can very quickly integrate new concepts without having to do like a deep adaptation to the sim.
Javier, I'll go to Greg, but I'll leave you with a couple questions so you can think a little bit on them. One is, we started with transform physical, then we switched to digital, and obviously it was a great platform for Chris to, make it on steroids or whatever and create this new content, new exercise. And it really, became a different animal. Now we see this trend going back in person. So what can you take from that explosion in the digital arena to the physical, in-person future engagement? That's going to be one of the questions. And the second one, we're eager to hear what is the role of the simulations within your, your solution platform as Novaric. But first, we're going to hear from Greg. Greg, last time, as we said, you blew us away with your presentation. So big expectations on how you're going to present today, my friend.
No. So This time, I think it will be a little bit more modest. However, I prepared a little surprise towards the end. So let me start with the quote, which I think I use it all the time whenever we start with the simulations or wargaming. I like to fix the roof on sunny days. I'm not sure if Jack Ma is now fixing roof in Japan, but I think I like this quote because it makes a kind of really sense why we need to do the simulations. And actually, simulations are the tool to prepare for the future, whatever simulation it is, and whatever context you are putting in. Who runs the simulations or go through the simulation experience will be better prepared for the future. And this is also something that I use very often because it's not only in business, but in every profession, you need to rehearse, to practice own preparations, or like to get familiar with the stage. So the same also you do when you do the business simulation, to know what to do if something goes wrong. So it prepares you also how to behave, and plus also develop new skills or bring new ideas how to perform. And altogether, it's for a better performance in the future. And I like this context and thinking because simulations is playing that role. And we mentioned today already many clients, and the clients who work with the strategy tools understand very well that's the role of the simulation. And I just listed a couple of them which I took part. So on the educational side, we had 2 cohorts with the Duke University, but also moving into corporate elements with the Halt Ashridge, but it was for the corporate client. And plus also the 2 corporate clients, so one global tech company, and the one which I will be talking today will be also the top 5 rank in Poland. But starting to Duke, and I'll go quickly because I think it will be a little bit repetitive what we have seen also for the other experiences. The setup, it's a big event actually, because it started like initially as a small, let's say, simulation as a trial, but now it's a big one and very popular in the Duke University. So this year we had the 2 cohorts, and then within each cohorts we had like about 70 students. So we had like 13 teams, and they were like in the 3 separate boards. So in order to run it, again, we had to have the hosting expert and then also co-host from the strategy tools, plus also the support from the teaching assistants from the Duke University. So big organizational setup, but I'm not going to go through what happened during this simulation, because it's always, let's say, not the same, because every time is different. But actually, what were the key decisive moments? So the activation of loan, and also the bringing the new innovation strategy cards uplift everything. So that's also learning for us as facilitators to properly navigate the experiences, and also suggest sometimes some solutions, or like also Ole or Javier mentioned, that sometimes preparation of the cards that will be in play also can help in moving forward with the simulation. Also, realizing that growing organically is not the way to reach the goal, and obviously the hostile takeover and also the resistance is opportunity also for students to learn that this may happen, and also open the, let's say, new venue to learn also how to defend against the takeover. So those were like a key highlights in the both simulations. So what the students learn, I think that the one thing is also that it's a part of the big education program, and they could apply the concepts. And the best example to see it in practice is then when the students are working also during the homework and they are preparing the response to activist letter, when they can really apply also the learnings from the course. They learn also the interaction between, let's say, short-term profits management, but also how to build a portfolio, business model portfolio, and also how to navigate through the financial markets and also the market perception. And also, yeah, talking about the strategy and transformation is one thing, but implementing it is a completely different story. So this is really hands-on experience, and now it's not about the theory, but the real work. Plus, I think that the people interactions, and that's what I love also in the Transform, that people have to learn and negotiate, but also to cooperate and making the decisions. And on one side, taking, let's say, role of leadership, but on the other side also sharing, let's say, the decision making within the team. A couple, let's say, expressions after these two simulations. How would you describe the simulation? So barbarians at the gate, eat or be eaten, and also, well, roller coaster. I think it was mentioned also in the previous presentation. So you see that the experience is the same. From my perspective, I always learn on the Transform, and the sentence which I also quite repeat, but this is proof. It's not the big that it's small, but it's the fast that it's slow. I love the sentence, but this is really true. And key was also to understanding the dynamics of building the business models and how they impact the market cap. And I also recognize that the role of the CFO is completely different than we think. It's not just crunching the numbers. It's really understanding the strategy and then how you can leverage financial tools to deliver the value creation. So also on the practical side, we learned that having one offsite for the CFO instead of two, it helps to accelerate the program. And again, teamwork, and it's on the both sides. So teamwork for the attendees, but also for the facilitators. We had like 3 different channels of communication, different for facilitators, different for the students. And I think it's to run it smoothly. It helps a lot to have this communication well established and also planning. Let me move to the second, which was experience, which for me, it was the first experience with the physical one. And actually also it was the premiere of the Transform simulation in Poland, in live, in person. So it's just to give a background, the story continues. And for people who are interested, indeed, you can look at the presentation from last year when I mentioned about the same client, how I got this client and how I pivoted to the Transform simulation. So you can refer to the presentation from the last year. But what happened last year, in early 2022, I was approached by the HR business partner for the different department, this time for the CEO. And based on the internal recommendation, they passed the contact to me. And so that's also how you can build a pipeline of different projects. And the challenges were quite similar to the previous one. So we had a new person as a leader and also the new team members. So there was not only about the strategy, but also bringing the team together. And as a kind of connecting and also how to make this relevant for the CEO, for the operations, one will have to also mention what's going on in the industry. So the banking sector is going through a lot of industry shifts, a lot of innovation, new business models, new players, and even for the operations, it seems that they have to also understand how they can deliver the value on strategy. So why transform? We asked in the beginning, like how banks should prepare for these industry shifts, and also how to navigate the short-term and long-term strategies. How to develop deep strategic and transformation capacities, because I think that's also, especially in the operational team, when sometimes it's like a quarterly results, they also have to have in mind the long-term thinking. And plus also the team, again, alignment and the way how to cooperate in the work. So this was a very good reason to stop for a moment and reflect and start thinking how the team could also deliver and be prepared for the future strategies. We use the mobility industry, so not the banking, to make sure that it's a rather experience how the strategy works, and not really working on the merits that they know very well. So that's why it was the mobility.
Rick, we are running.
I'm skipping. Okay. I'm skipping.
Share the key learnings. That will be great.
Okay, so I think one of the key learnings, and this is for the physical one. So this was we initially planned for 11 people of the executives, but then the client said, "Can we do it for 25 people?" And we said, "Yeah, go ahead." So this is a. All right, so you could see that the setting up for 25 people for 5 teams, it was quite a challenge. And as you could see also in the film, that people were sitting around the corners, different tables. So one of the key learnings was also that it was too challenging to put them around one table to see what's going on the board. So key takeaways, again, the experiences and the key, let's say, mentioning what people said after the workshop, but also I think one important element with this workshop was also that we had the possibility to speak about the real life, and as a reflection session, which was like about 1 hour, we managed to start talking about the real business. So we ran the industry shifts map and also the transformation gap index, which also was starting thinking like what the company should do to prepare for the future. So as a learning, I think that managing the expectation, so pre-workshop communication is a must. Plus having people from different departments in one team people love cross-functional collaboration. I mentioned the number of people and also make sure that, and this is also from the physical experience, that everyone should know what's going on the board. So they see the consequences of the decision and the market events. So the team tables are good, but only for the breakouts. And also there should be like one master facilitator who decides the interpretations, because sometimes I said something as interpretation, and then Chris said, no, it doesn't work that way. So I think it's quite important for as a key learning to make sure that the message is only one. Well, that's it. So sorry again, it had to be a little bit fast, but thanks a lot. And
you're a great storyteller, Greg, and I think that it was, you know, again, one of the key messages is really understand what your client wants to achieve with the simulation. So Javier, I don't know if you got a chance to think about a little bit, and the first question, and then we'll go to PEX, is really what's the role that you see, because you've run all the sims in all the possible settings. So what do you see is going to be the role of the sims in growing your business, in developing your solutions?
Yeah, I think since the first time that I saw the simulation or heard about the simulation, I thought that this was a great way to open doors, okay? Because, I mean, as a discovery session, this could be extremely helpful. It's easy, it's not that invasive, and that can create a lot of possibilities, okay? Because you're showing a potential client what you can do later on, okay? So that might become a project. The other is like trying to open doors with in education, in business schools, which is a really slow process. But I think that if we are able to position ourselves in, especially in executive education, it's going to be helpful, again, to open new doors. The other part is, for instance, I've tried this using the simulation to generate the urgency of change in a project. So this changes the mindset of the participants of that project, okay? Because from the beginning, they understand what is going to about this project, okay? And so that's how I see how we are using the different simulations here.
Thank you, Javier. PEX, go ahead.
Yes, I thank you. I don't want to be reinventing the wheel. I'm glad I'm on this breakout, because one of the drivers for that strategy in 2023 that I shared previously is opening room for specifically for the transform simulation, both with clients as part of a strategy journey engagement, or as a business opener, like Javier just said, but also in a couple of business schools that I think I could have access to decision makers. Do we have a deck of 3-5 slides mentioning the universities we have done it with and the corporate clients we have done it with, so that we don't have to go through that work again? Because when you sit with those clients, you know how they are. If we say, we've done this at Duke, we've done this at Northeastern, we've done this here, and there, they're just going to say, they're going to go straight to their FOMO mood. I don't want to be missing out on this. I want to be the first one in Colombia to be using this simulation. Is there a document that we can have access to and start using sometime soon?
Chris?
I'll pass it back to you, Roberto.
Well, no, I saw your answer.
Yeah, thanks.
The short answer is yes.
Yeah. So the short answer is there are many iterations. What we generally recommend is refer back to the website and use the website, because that's going to have the most updated material that's available. And then if you need a PDF file, talk to Adelina and she can put it together quite quickly.
And the Strategy Sims website as well for the simulation, if you want to work on that PEX.
And if you need any specific in Spanish, then you can talk to me. Okay, guys, we're closing the panel. I think it's been very, very thrilling and interesting to see the different experience. And just a snapshot to each of Ole, Javier, and Greg. if you can give a piece of advice of how to improve the skills as a facilitator, what would you say? But quick snapshot. Javier.
I could say practice and create your own stories.
Thanks. Greg.
Same, do it a lot. Practice.
Good. Ole.
The same here, and to find stories that are local and known to the participants is gold. Cases.
But I think
So
also Enrico is a very good example, building the library of the cases.
Yeah.
It always helps to bring the right stories in the right place and the right moment.
And yeah, I'll join that saying, guys, hopefully next time we will have more of you having worked with the simulations. And don't be afraid to start with the kids. My first simulation, I run it with my, at that point, I don't know, 11-year-old kid. And just going through the motions of the dynamic, that helps quite a lot. But thank you so much. You can move to the plenary.